cracks are showing up all over the U.S. job market, and companies are now looking to cut back on hiring. Many companies started announcing mass layoffs last week, admitting that their profit margins are falling as the economy moves toward a historic recession. The last thing keeping the U.S. economy going is that inflation is still high and the housing market is on its last legs. Americans should get ready for a new wave of layoffs this summer that could cost over 1 million jobs and lead to much lower wages as businesses struggle to stay afloat in the face of slower growth. We've got a lot to talk about today, but before we move on, don't forget to leave a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any of our future videos. There are big changes happening in the U.S. labor market. Last week, an unexpected rise in the number of Americans filing new claims for unemployment benefits hit a 4-month high. This shows a big drop in demand for workers as the economy gets worse. The number of people receiving unemployment benefits rose from 1.3 million to 1.3 million in April, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. The number of people who quit their jobs in April also set a new record, rising above 4.5 million. Other real-time indicators, such as Revelo's measure of total job postings, fell by 22.5%, the biggest change on record, showing that the job market has started to improve. Corporate profits from current production fell by $66.4 billion, or 2.3% in the first quarter. This was the first drop in almost 2 years. Profits after taxes also fell by 4.3% in the first quarter, after only going up by 0.2% in the fourth quarter. Since the beginning of the year, at least 107 tech companies have laid off employees. Last week that both Peloton and Netflix were laying off workers because demand for their products had dropped. On top of that, online car seller Carvana cut its staff because of inflation and a falling stock price. Overall, US-based employers reported more than 24,000 job cuts in April, which is 14% more than the month before and 6% more than the same month last year, according to a placement firm. Some executives are nervous because they are making less money. The stock market is still going down, and rules are getting stricter. Labor is always said to be the biggest cost for most businesses. The falling share prices of high-flying tech companies will force their managers to tighten their belts. Uber CEO Dara Khosrow wrote a letter promising to cut prices. In a new report, economists say they are worried that job cuts in the tech industry will soon spread to other industries. Bank of America warned that the failure of some big companies is likely to start a chain reaction that will lead to a sharp rise in hiring freezes. Fewer jobs and wages that don't go up. Any news about companies going out of business and people losing their jobs could hurt its mood. The main question is whether or not consumer spending will stay afloat. The legendary investor Michael Burry recently came out of hiding to warn about the imminent collapse of consumer spending. According to Burry, Americans are saving less, borrowing more, and spending the extra money they saved during the health crisis. These trends could signal a long-term drop in consumer spending and make it harder for companies to make money. His is because inflation continues to squeeze consumers and leave them with less money to spend. This means that if people are taking on more debt and their savings are shrinking, they are likely to cut back on their spending, which will hurt economic growth. The main thing to worry about today is inflation. Inflation lowers the value of workers' paychecks. People are getting more take-home pay, but it's not going as far as it used to. When all is said and done, the average worker in the fourth quartile of income owners is only making about $2 more per hour than they did in 2019. When inflation is taken into account, real wages are falling. And this is true at every income level. This means that our leaders will have to decide which is worse, a recession and bear market or runaway inflation, as millions of Americans start to see their wages go back to normal, if they're lucky, and millions more are about to lose their jobs. If you have a job, you should keep it as long as you can.